Tonight, the skies over Ukraine told a story of fire and fear. At midnight, when families were sleeping and Kyiv's streets were silent, the sirens broke the night. Moments later, the air shook with the thunder of engines. Nearly 600 drones and missiles poured across the border, unleashed in one of the deadliest and most coordinated assaults since Russia's invasion began. Imagine this: you're a child in Kyiv, woken by the piercing sound of alarms, clutching your mother's hand as the walls tremble. In the dark, the glow of explosions lights up the horizon. Windows shatter. Hospitals, schools, and homes crumble. This wasn't just another attack. This was Russia's message to Ukraine, to NATO, and to the world. And tonight, we're breaking it down: the strikes, the human toll, the desperate push for Tomahawk missiles, and why Moscow is already talking about nuclear war. Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about Ukraine's survival. This is about how close the world is drifting toward a much larger war. Part 1. The assault on Kyiv. In the early hours of the 28th of September 2025, Ukraine woke to chaos. Russia launched 595 drones and 48 missiles, saturating Ukrainian skies. Air defenses managed to intercept most, but not all. Dozens slipped through, leaving scars across the nation. In Kyiv, one of the strikes slammed into a cardiology clinic. Doctors were forced to evacuate patients in the dark, carrying stretchers through hallways littered with glass and debris. Imagine trying to keep heart patients alive while explosions rumble outside. Residential neighborhoods were torn apart, power lines collapsed, leaving thousands without electricity. Factories vital for Ukraine's war economy went up in flames, and amid it all, lives were lost. 4 civilians died, including a 2-year-old girl, and dozens more were injured. Her neighborhood, once filled with laughter, now lies silent. This is not just infrastructure damage. It's psychological warfare. Russia's attempt to remind every Ukrainian that nowhere is safe. Part 2. The ripple across borders. The attack didn't just shake Ukraine, it rattled Poland, a NATO state right next door. As missiles streaked dangerously close to Polish airspace, Warsaw scrambled its fighter jets. For hours, Polish pilots circled the skies, ready to intercept if a missile crossed the line. Parts of Poland's airspace were temporarily shut down, a precaution against the possibility of spillover. And let's pause on that, because one wrong trajectory. Part 3. Ukraine's countermove, the Tomahawk gamble. In the face of this devastation, Ukraine is demanding something new, a weapon that could shift the balance of power. President Volodymyr Zelensky and his government are pressing hard for Tomahawk cruise missiles. These aren't ordinary weapons. They can travel 2,500 kilometers, meaning they could hit Moscow itself, deep inside Russian territory. The U.S. has heard the request. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed Washington is considering it seriously. If approved, Ukraine would possess a tool capable of striking command centers, supply depots, and infrastructure far beyond the front lines. But with power comes escalation. Because the moment Ukraine gets Tomahawks, the war is no longer confined to Ukrainian territory. Russia knows it, NATO knows it, and the world is bracing for the consequences. Part 4. Moscow reacts. Warnings and threats. Moscow wasted no time in responding. The Kremlin's message was blunt. If Ukraine fires Tomahawks, will it be using American targeting data? If so, Russia argues, that makes the West a direct participant in the war. That's not just rhetoric, it's a legal and political warning, one that could justify retaliation. But the threats didn't stop there. Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former president and now deputy chair of the Security Council, escalated the language even further. He warned Europe that any deeper involvement risks nuclear escalation. He claimed a fatal accident could trigger weapons of mass destruction, painting a picture of Europe playing with fire. And remember, Russia has said before that its nuclear doctrine allows for use if the existence of the state is threatened. In Moscow's eyes, Tomahawks hitting deep into Russian territory might be exactly that. So while Kyiv pleads for stronger weapons, Moscow raises the specter of Armageddon. Part 5. The battlefield picture. But here's where the story twists. While Russia escalates with massive strikes and nuclear rhetoric, Ukraine insists that Moscow's military campaigns are failing. Ukraine's commander Oleksandr Syrsky claims Russia's 2025 offensive has been blunted. Attempts to break through near Dobropilya reportedly left Russian units trapped near the Kazany Torets River. According to Syrsky, Russia has shifted tactics, abandoning large-scale offensives for what he calls the 1,000 cuts strategy. Small infantry groups attack multiple sectors at once, hoping to overwhelm Ukraine's defenses by sheer attrition. But Ukraine says it has adapted. Counterattacks, drones, and surveillance are neutralizing these assaults. The cost to Russia? Heavy casualties, stalled advances, and little to show for months of effort. So while Russia rains destruction from the sky, Ukraine claims the Kremlin's ground campaign is bleeding out. Part 6. The bigger picture, a world on edge. Now let's step back. What does this all mean for the bigger picture? First, Russia's drone and missile storm shows that Putin is betting on exhaustion, break Ukraine's infrastructure, break its will, and pressure its allies to back off. Second, Ukraine's Tomahawk push reveals desperation but also strategy. Kyiv doesn't just want to defend. It wants to carry the war into Russia, to remind Moscow that the cost of invasion isn't one-sided. Third, the nuclear card, whether bluff or real, raises the risk that every new step could trigger catastrophic escalation. Part 7. Human faces of war. But beyond missiles, beyond strategies, let's return to the people. In Kyiv, doctors who once treated routine heart patients now operate under candlelight, with backup generators humming. In Zaporizhzhia, families sweep broken glass from their kitchens, wondering if tomorrow will bring more. In Odesa, air raid sirens have become the soundtrack of daily life. And for the 2-year-old girl who lost her life in this attack, her story is now part of the tragedy of countless Ukrainian children who will never grow up in peace. War statistics numb us, but each number is a life, a face, a family. And it is this human cost that makes every strike, every missile, every debate about weapons, more than politics. It is survival. Part 8. What comes next? So what happens now? If Ukraine gets Tomahawks, the war's geography will change overnight. Moscow will no longer be safe. If Russia continues these massive aerial strikes, Ukraine's infrastructure will crumble further. Electricity, hospitals, industry, all under siege. If NATO airspace is violated, the conflict risks crossing a line no one wants to imagine. The world is on edge, and for Ukrainians, every night is a question. Will the sirens wail again? Closing thoughts. The attack of September 28 wasn't just a barrage of drones and missiles. It was a turning point, a message of destruction, a gamble for escalation, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of a new phase of this war. Because when one side threatens with nuclear fire and the other dreams of striking Moscow, the line between regional conflict and global catastrophe becomes dangerously thin. So I leave you with this question. Should Ukraine be given Tomahawks weapons that could change the war but risk global escalation? Or should the West hold back, even as Ukrainian cities burn? Tell me in the comments, because the debate isn't just happening in Washington or Moscow. It's happening here, with all of us. And if you want a deeper dive into the weapons shaping this war, drones, cruise missiles, air defense systems, let me know which one you'd like us to break down next. Stay safe, stay informed, and never forget, behind every headline are lives changed.